Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Welcome to the Great Debaters Contest. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yumbok. Today we have a very brow-raising motion whether sex education should be taught in schools. We have Mahola versus Ebubole. Who will be the victor?
Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
What is education? Education is simply going through a process of learning. Then what is sex? Sex, this refers to gender. And when we are referring to gender, what do we mean? Gender simply means being a male or a female. I'm Katam Kennedy from Ebubole Mixed Secondary School. I strongly propose the motion. If this sex education is taught in secondary schools, we find that there will be gender equality. What do I mean? I mean that in assent to the traditional beliefs and rules, we find that the women were not given the priority. We find that nowadays there is sex education and the youth are taught on the importance of sex education. And we find that this one encourages the issue of gender equality for both the boys and the girls. Furthermore, when we are taught on the importance of sex education, we find that this traditional anonymity is not there. We find that the rules of the traditions that women cannot rule, they are not there. We find that sex education will remove these rules and thus will embrace our devolution. The second thing is that sex education will also foster unity among the members. How does unity come? We find that if sex education is taught to the youth, we find that a girl will know the duties of a boy, and a boy will also know the duties of a girl. If sex education is taught in schools, it brings the full coverage on the effects and dangers of the diseases such as the STIs. We find that sex education is a topic on its own. And when given this priority to be taught, then the diseases of STIs will not be there. I'm Katam Kennedy. I strongly propose the motion. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your opening remarks.
It sounds very awkward, somebody to say that sex education should be taught in school. This comes where you can ask yourself, what is the consequences after talking this sex education? Then what is the significance of that? Then ask yourself, as you are there, who is ever heard about sex education in school? Have you ever been taught in your schools? And then if you are being taught, what is their results after that? I am Esther Yongesa, Mahola Secondary School. I'm going on my point. This sex education will lead to high rate of pregnancies where they will be being taught and somebody will want to do the practical for that after being taught. So he will come up with a pregnancy, then he or she will drop out of school. There is no something to say that sex education should be taught in school. Next point, it may be a drawback to MDGs since a girl child may become more vulnerable. When you come, the cause of this, you may be found a student, maybe he or she, after taught this sex education, he will just go on doing nonsense at school. Then it may lead to poor performance to school. My friend, you have just said that this sex education, as they will be taught, they will not come up with SDIs. Let me tell you this. These SDIs will just improve because as they were taught, they will be taught and they will just go and do practically. So it will be increased. There is not something to say that sex education should be taught in school.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes.
I'm very much sorry to tell the first speaker that sex education does not necessarily mean having sexual intercourse, but this taught you how to manage yourself concerning that issue. My first point is that it has brought the full knowledge on the effects and dangers of female genital mutilation. However, in communities which compose of a very wide number of illiterate people, they take the practice of this, they practice female genital mutilation, which is not healthy for a girl child. This might lead to death or even causing anemia, which is loss of iron in the body due to excess bleeding. Second point, it has played a key role on the awareness of early pregnancies and thus embracing the possible protective measures, for instance, abstinence. You can see when a student is taught about this issue, is able to manage himself or herself concerning the sexual activities which may arise. The first speaker from the opposition side, I would like to correct you by saying that when you come here, you don't have to necessarily mean sexual intercourse, but this one is giving a student or any person a knowledge on how to manage himself or herself. The third point states that if not taught in schools, then it's going against the syllabus coverage, whereby reproduction systems are taught from both sex, which are female and male. Therefore, in our schools, we always learn about the reproductive systems. So, the reproductive system composes all the both sides, which is the male and female. So therefore, you cannot tell me that sex education should not be taught in school.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
Really, it's very awkward. Somebody just stating that sex education should be taught in school. I hope none of you is being taught this. That's why Electin Wasuma from Mahola Secondary School strongly opposing the motion by saying that this sex education should not be taught in these schools. My fellow has said about reproductive systems. As you are being taught about reproductive system, does it mean that you are being taught to practice this sex? Does this sex have any benefit from this for these students? No, I think it doesn't. First point, this will automatically increase school dropout due to high rate of pregnancy since more students may become more curious to start practicing it. None of these students will be taught about this, and then he or she continues with his education just without any problem. Being taught this will automatically increase the rate of dropout in these schools. Increased pregnancy may lead to high rate of population since leads to scarce resources. How? Scarce resources comes where there will be high rate of population and there will not be, the resources will not be acquired equally for everybody.
M-Pesa inasaidia kulipa fee, at least to save the hassle of going back to the bank to pay fees. Yeah, it's an easy way to pay fees, and I'm glad Safaricom brought M-Pesa.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
The audience has posed questions to the two teams on stage. They will respond. The proposers have been asked how sex education would slow down the coverage of the syllabus, and the opposition have been asked to clarify on how sex education would slow down our MDGs or what MDGs are. Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes.
First, I will react on the question. We said that if this sex should not be taught in schools, it delays the syllabus coverage. This is the reason. Since sex is a chapter on its own, hence, if it will not be taught, I hope students may not be able to get it clearly. Back to my opponents, it seems you are not getting this motion. You are only basing on the sexual intercourse. I even expected that after being explained the motion, you may end up changing your mind, coming to our side. But it's quite unfortunate that you are still going on disappointing us. This sex education, it has enabled girls and boys to understand the challenges they undergo, especially during their adolescent stage. Sex education, it has enabled a girl child to realize his or her potential in different courses, whereby you may find that nowadays girls are also being involved in these technical courses, such as you may find that a woman is driving a heavy commercial trucks. So, my dear opponents, I welcome you to this side. Come on our side. You are not on the safer side. May you be blessed.
Opposers, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience as well.
Here I'm the Wycliffe Masoso, to remove those illiterates from your minds, to tell those my opponents that they do not understand the heading of the motion. They are saying that I'll start by that person who said about the MGDS. MDGs. It means that Millennium Development Goals. That's the meaning. And it will affect this being taught in this sex education. This sex education should be taught in schools. Simply because if they could be stored, it will lead to the more pregnancies. And you may get up, the students are dropping out of the school. As we have said about the MDGs, this will lead to the governmental income to reduce due to the high population. As my fellow has said about being taught will lead to more pregnancies. What it will lead, it will not be taught in school since it delays the school syllabus. It is yes because they have given us that point. Simply because this sex education should not be in school because they end up making the syllabus to be large in size. Thus taking more time. Thus taking more time by the teachers and being more economical to the schools. Another issue is that it increases early pregnancy. It increases sex education may surpass other subjects in the same that most students will use these efforts. This subject may end up getting, for example, the students may run from other subjects going to this sex education simply because the students may be more interested in this sex education than other subjects like math and answer. Thank you.
Proposition, you have 1 minute for your final remarks.
Actually, it's quite embarrassing that my opponents are coming here to give us made statements instead of giving us the facts. And the fact is, my opponents have not understood the meaning of the motion. And they are just fond of repeating themselves with similar points. So, I can wonder if you are against teaching of sex education, how will gender equality be managed? How will the effects of STIs be controlled in this country of Kenya? My opponents check into that. And if we are doing so, then where are we heading to? And that question goes to my opponent's sides. And I request the honorable judges to just give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 1 minute for your final remark.
I'm so very disappointed about this. My fellow stating that sex education should be taught in secondary schools. By the way, let me tell you, really no. No and no. Why do I say so? This sex education may lead to surpass of other subjects in school. My fellow, let me tell you, you are not on a safer side. Please join my side.
Last year, I think sometime last year, the president launched the condoms for schools, and there has been a lot of debate around that. Should you provide condoms in schools? And right now in the universities, they're being provided. And the campaign was basically targeting teenagers who are mainly in secondary schools. And the reason behind that was because research points to the fact that a number of young people are engaging in sexual activities from a very early age. So for what the opposers then should have pointed out, and I think they have tried to do that, even with the challenge of language in some instances, as to why this shouldn't be taught. Because then it takes attention away from the other courses, in as much as the arguments might not be very, very articulate, but I think we get it, from the motion.
I think all across the board, there was a lot of passion for what you believed in and what you wanted to convince the audience. And I must commend all the members on the stage because of audience engagement, and we could hear it from what the responses were from the people. And maybe it's because of also the subject itself is very sensitive, and in a way, there's a lot of curiosity on what you're going to bring about. I also want to applaud your confidence. I mean, nobody here came and was frightened or had some stage fright. I mean, you really knew what you wanted. Some of you even got to the stage before you were called in because you were really passionate about this. That was commendable. Nonetheless, with some of the corrections that we're giving here, if you really can now work and now add some mastery of the topics that you're given, Masoso, I think you have a gift, you know? You have that particular gift because when I looked all around me, everybody here was cracked up. There's something about that. That's a gift that is not found anywhere. So maybe think through that, you know? It might be the next king of comedy that we don't know, is it? Excellent work. Thank you.
Given a chance, I believe we can make better debaters. There are little areas we need to improve on, and I can see it on your faces that you're people who are willing to learn and you're ready to learn. And I believe that our experience this year round on the great debaters is going to help us actually to improve our clubs wherever we come from and to improve our immediate environment where we come from. Debate is all about learning. And I loved Emmanuel who came in and made it clear that when we talk about sex education, we don't talk about sexual intercourse only. And I think the Mahola, you banked a lot on sexual intercourse. And you made mention that there are other things that are taught in school that qualify to be called sex education. To keep it short, to the two teams you've tried, and this is a good step. I believe next year when you come, we shall have better debates. Thank you.
Our teams, Ebubole Mixed Secondary School and Mahola Secondary, have already tied at 47. Please give them a round of applause.
We thank the teams for participating, and of course, for more entertaining debates, do keep watching the Great Debaters contest. Remember to follow us on Twitter @GreatDebatersEA, and our thanks go out to Safaricom M-Pesa and to KBC Channel 1. I have been your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yambok. Stay tuned.
The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.